Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gopal Radha Rama Hari Govinda Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai Radhe 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 Jai 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 Sri Radhe 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 Jai 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 Sri Radhe Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Bol Hari Bol. First of all, offer my millions of obeisances, lotus feet of Asmati Guru Pad Padma, Nitala Prashtajet Guru Shishu Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj, Dandi Swami Shishu Bhaktivedanta Dandi Maharaj, Amnishta Santa Shri Aniruddha Das Prabhuji, all the Vaishnavis and Vaishnavis who are gathered here, please accept my humble obeisances. So we are discussing this wonderful book, Shri Jaiva Dharma, and chapter 12 is Nitya Dharma and Sadhana. Shri Navadvip Mandal is supreme among all holy places of the world. Like Shri Vrindavan, it covers an area of 32 square miles and is shaped like an eight-petaled lotus flower. Eight-petaled lotus flower. The center of that lotus is Shri Antardip, the core of which is Shri Mayapur. To the north of Shri Mayapur is Shri Simantadip, where a temple of Shri Simantri Devi is situated. To the north of this temple is the village of Bilva Pushkarini, and to the south lies Brahman Pushkarini. To that area, which is located in the northern section of Shri Navadvip, is commonly referred to as Simulia. At the time of Shri Mahaprabhu, Simulia was the residence of many learned Panditas. The father of Shachi Devi, Shri Nilamba Chakravarti Mahasaya, had also lived in the village. Now, not far from where Nilamba Chakravarti's house still stood, lived a Vedic Brahmana named Vrajanath Bhattacharya. Vrajanath had been brilliant from his childhood. He had studied in a Sanskrit school in Bilva Pushkarani, and he had become such a superior scholar of the science of logic, Nyaya Shastra, that his ingenious and innovative arguments embarrassed and intimidated all the renowned scholars of Bilva Pushkarani, Brahman Pushkarani, Mayapur, Godruva, Madhyadeepa, Amraghatta, Samudragad, Kuliya, Purvasthali, and other places. Wherever there was a gathering of Panditas, Vajanath, Panchanan would set the assembly ablaze with a barrage of unprecedented arguments. Among these Panditas was a cruel-hearted logician named Naik Chudamani. Who was deeply mortified by the wounds he had received from the sharp blows of Vajanath's logic. This logician resolved to kill Naya Panchanan using the occult knowledge described in the Tantra Shastra, by which one can invoke another's death through mystical incantations. This end, he moved into the cremation ground in Rudradeep and began to utter death mantras day and night. It was Amasya, the night of the new moon, and dense darkness pervaded all the four directions. At midnight, Nayai Chudamani sat in the middle of the cremation ground and called out to his worshipful deity, "O mother, you are the only worshipful deity in this Kali Yuga. I heard that you become pleased simply by the recitation of a few mantras, and that you easily bestow benediction upon your worshippers. O goddess with a terrifying face, this servant of yours has undergone tremendous hardship in reciting your mantras for many days. Please be merciful upon me just once. O mother, although I am plagued with many faults, you are still my mother. Please excuse all my faults and appear before me today." In this way, repeatedly calling out with cries of distress, Nai Shiramani offered oblations in the fire while uttering a mantra in the name of Rajanath Nyaya Panchami. How astonishing was the power of that mantra! The sky immediately became overcast with a mass of dense dark clouds. A fierce wind began to blow and deafening peals of thunder roared. Hideous ghosts and evil spirits could be seen in the intermittent flashes of lightning. With the help of the sacrificial wine, Chudamani summoned all energy and called out, "Oh, mother, please do not delay another moment." Just then an oracle from the heaven replied, "Do not worry. Vrajanath Nyaya Panchanan will not discuss the Nyaya Shastra for long. Within a few days, he will give up debating and remain silent. He will no longer be your rival. Be peaceful and return home." When the Pandit heard this oracle, he became satisfied. He repeatedly offered pranam to Mahadev, the chief of the Devas and author of the Tantra, and then returned to his own home. Vrajanath Naypanchanan had become a Digvijay Pandit, one who has conquered the four directions through scholarship at the age of 21. Day and night he studied the books of the famous logician Sri Gangeshopadhyay, who had initiated a new system of logic known as Navya. Vrajanath had found many faults in Kanai Bhatta Shiromani's Diditi, which was a celebrated commentary on Gangopadhyay's Tattva Chintamani. Mm, Gangeshopadhyay's Tattva Chintamani. And he began to write his own commentary. Although he never thought of material enjoyment, the word Paramartha, spiritual reality, never so much entered his ears. His single focus in life was to initiate logical debates using the concepts and terminology of Nyaya, such as an avachhed, the property of an object which it is distinguished from everything else. Vyavachhed, exclusion of one object from another, gata, a clay pot, and a pata, a piece of cloth. While sleeping, dreaming, eating, or moving about, his heart was filled with the thoughts about the nature of objects, the nature of time, the peculiarities of aqueous and terrestrial properties. One evening, Vrajanath was sitting on the bank of the Ganga, contemplating the 16 categories propounded by Gautama in his system of logic. When a new student of the Nyaya Shastra approached him, Nyaya Panchanan Mahashay, said the student, "I heard Nimai Pandit's logical refutation of the atomic theory of creation." Nyaya Panchanan roared like a lion, "Who is Nimai Pandit? Are you speaking about the son of Jagannath Mishra? Tell me about his logical arguments." The student said, "Oh, a great person named Nimai Pandit lived in Navadvip just a short time ago. He composed many innovative logical arguments related to the Nyaya Shastra and thus embarrassed Kanai Bhatta Shiromani. During his time, there was no scholar equal to him in mastery of the Nyaya Shastra. Yet, even though he was so adept in the Nyaya Shastra, he considered it quite insignificant. Indeed, he regarded not only the Nyaya Shastra but the entire material world as strictly. He therefore adopted the life of a wandering mendicant in the renounced order and traveled from place to place propagating the chanting of Harinam. Present day Vaishnavas accept him as Purna Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they worship him with the Sri Gaura Hari mantra. Nyaya Panchanan Mahashay, you must look into his dialectical arguments at least once. After hearing such praise of Nimai Pandit's logical reasoning, Brajanath Nyaya Panchanan became quite curious to hear his arguments. With difficulty, he was able to collect a few of those arguments from various sources. Human nature is such that when one develops faith in a particular subject, he will naturally feel regard for the teachers of that subject. Moreover, for various reasons, common people do not easily develop faith in exalted personalities who are still living, whereas they tend to develop great faith in the activities of Mahajanas who have passed away. Naya Panchanan developed unshakable faith in Nimai Pandit by studying his logical thesis. Vrajanath would say, "Oh Nimai Pandit, if I had been born during your time, there is no telling how much I could have learned from you. Oh Nimai Pandit, kindly enter my heart just once. You are truly Purna Brahma, for otherwise, how could such extraordinary logical arguments have come from your mind? You are undoubtedly Gaurahari, for you have destroyed the darkness of ignorance by creating such remarkable arguments. The darkness of ignorance is black, but you have removed it by becoming Gaura, fair complexion. You are hurry because you can steal the minds of the entire world. You have stolen away my heart with the ingenuity of your logic." Repeatedly speaking in this way, Vajana became somewhat frantic. He called out loudly, "O Nimai Pandit, O Gaurahari, please be merciful to me. When will I be able to create logical arguments like yours? If you are merciful unto me, there is no telling how great a scholar of the Nyashastra I may become." Rajanath thought to himself, "It seems to me that those who worship Gaurahari must also be attracted to Nimai Pandit's scholarship in Nyaya, just as I am. I should go to them and see whether they have any books that he has composed on Nyaya." Thinking like this, Rajanath developed a desire to associate with the devotees of Gauranga. By constantly uttering the pure names of Bhagavan, Nimai Pandit, and Gaurahari, and by desiring to associate with the devotees of Gaura, Rajanath earned tremendous sukurti. One day, while Vajanath was taking a meal with his paternal grandmother, he asked, "Grandmother, did you ever see Gaurahari?" Upon hearing the name of Sri Gauranga, Vajanath's grandmother nostalgically remembered her childhood and said, "Aha, what an enchanting form he had. Alas, will I ever behold his beautiful, sweet form again? Can anyone who has seen that captivating form ever engage her mind in domestic affairs again?" When he performed Harinam Kirtan, observed in ecstatic trance, the birds, beasts, trees, and creepers of Navadvip would completely lose consciousness of the external world due to intoxication of prema. Even now, when I contemplate these thoughts, an incessant flow of tears streams uncontrollably from my eyes and soaks my breast. Vrajanath inquired further, "Do you recall any pastimes that he performed?" Grandmother replied, "I certainly do, my son. When Sri Gauranga would visit the house of his maternal uncle with Mother Shuchi, the elderly ladies of her house fed him shak, spinach, and rice. He would praise the shak very highly and eat it with great prema. At that precise moment, Vedanath's own mother placed some shak on his plate. Seeing it and appreciating the serendipity of the moment, Vrajanath became overjoyed. "This is the beloved shak of the logician Nimai Pandit," he said, and ate it with the utmost reverence. Although Vrajanath was completely lacking in transcendental knowledge of absolute reality, he became extremely attracted to Nimai Pandit's brilliant scholarship. Indeed, the intensity of his attraction could not be estimated. Even the name of Nimai was a delight to his ears. When mendicants came to beg alms, uttering Jai Sachinandan, he received them warmly and fed them. He would sometimes go to Mayapur where he would hear the Babajis chanting the names of Gauranga and he would ask them many questions about Gauranga's triumphant activities in the field of scholarship and learning. After a few months of these activities, Vajanath was no longer his former self. Previously, Nimai's name had pleased him only in connection with his scholarship in Nyaya, but now Nimai pleased him in all respects. Vajanath lost all interest in studying and teaching Nyaya and no longer had any taste for dry arguments or debate. Nimai the logician no longer had any standing in the kingdom of his heart, but Nimai the devotee had usurped all authority. Vrajanath's heart would begin to dance when he heard the sound of mridanga and kartals. He would offer pranam within his mind whenever he saw pure devotees. He displayed great devotion towards Sri Navadvip. respecting it as the birthplace of Sri Gauranga Devi. When rival Panditas saw that Nyay Panchanan had become soft-hearted, they were very pleased at his condition. Now they could openly step out of their houses without fear. Nyayik Pandit thought that his worshipful deity had rendered Vrajanath inactive and there was no longer any need to be afraid. One day, while Vrajanath was sitting in a secluded place on the bank of the Bhagirathi, he thought to himself, if such a profound scholar of the Nyaya Shastra as Nimai could renounce logic and adopt the path of bhakti, what fault would there be if I could do the same? While I was obsessed with Nyaya, I could not apply myself to the cultivation of bhakti, nor could I bear to hear the name of Nimai. In those days, I was so immersed in the Nyaya Shastra that I could not even find time to eat, drink, or sleep. Now I see things in quite the opposite way. I no longer contemplate the topics of the Nyaya Shastra. Instead, I always remember the name of Gauranga. Still, even though the ecstatic devotional dancing of the Vaishnavas captivates my mind, I am the son of a Vedic Brahmana. I was born in a prestigious family and I am highly respected in society. Although I truly believe that the behavior and conduct of the Vaishnavas is excellent, it is inappropriate for me to adopt their ways outwardly. There are many Vaishnavas in Sri Mayapur at Kholabhanga Danga, where Chandkazi broke the Mridanga to stop the Sankirtan, and Vairagya Danga, the place of Vaishnava asceticism. I feel happy, purified at heart when I see the radiance of their faces. But amongst all those devotees is Sri Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj, who completely captivates my mind. When I see him, my heart fills with Shraddha. I would like to be by his side continuously and learn the Bhakti Shastras from him. It is said in the Vedas, Atma va aridrashtabhya श्रोतव्यो मंतव्यो निर्ध्यासितव्या Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 4.5.6. One should see, hear about, think of, and meditate on the supreme absolute truth. In this mantra, the word mantavya means to be thought of, to be considered or examined, to be admitted or assumed, to be approved or sanctioned, or to be called into question. Although the word suggests that one should acquire Brahma Gyan by studying the Nyaya Shastra, the word Shrotavya, to be heard or learned, learned from a teacher, implies the necessity for something greater. So far, I have spent much of my life in useless arguments and debate. Now, without wasting any more time, I long to dedicate myself to the feet of Sri Gaurari. I will therefore be, it will therefore be most beneficial for me to go after sunset and take darshan of Sri Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj. Vrajanath set out for Sri Mayapur at the close of day. The sun was rapidly vanishing below the western horizon, but its crimson rays were still dancing amidst the treetops. A gentle breeze blew from the south, and birds flew in various directions. Returning to their nest, the first few stars were gradually appearing in the sky. As Vrajanath arrived in Shiva's Angan, the courtyard of Shiva's Thakur's house, the Vaishnavas began Sandhya Arti in worship of Bhagavan, chanting and singing with voices. Brajanath took his seat on a platform beneath a bakula tree. His heart melted as he heard the Arti Kirtan of Gaurhari. And when it ended, the Vaishnava joined him on the platform. At that time, the elderly Raghunath Babaji Maharaj came and took a seat on the platform, chanting Jai Sachinandana, Jai Nityananda, Jai Rupa Sanatan, Jai Das Goswami. As he did so, everyone rose and offered him Dandavat Pranam. And Rajanath also felt compelled to do the same. When the aged Babaji Mahashaya saw the extraordinary beauty of Rajanath's face, he embraced him and requested him to sit by his side. Who are you, my son? Asked Babaji. Rajanath replied, I am one who is thirsting for the truth. I long to receive some instruction from you. A Vaishnava seated nearby recognized Brajanath and said, his name is Brajanath Nyay Panchana. There is no scholar of Nyay equal to him in all of Navadvip, but now he has developed some faith in Sachinanda. Hearing Brajanath's vast erudition, the elderly Babaji said, elderly Babaji said courteously, my dear son, you are a great scholar and I am a foolish and wretched soul. You are a resident and the holy of the holy dham of our Sachinandana, and we are therefore objects of your mercy. How can we instruct you? Kindly share with us some of the purifying narrations of your Gauranga and pacify our burning hearts. As Babaji Maharaj and Bhajanath conversed in this way, the other Vaishnavas gradually arose and dispersed to resume their respective services. Bhajanath said, Babaji Maharaj, I was born in a Brahmin family, and as a result, I am very proud of my learning. Because of my egoism of high birth and knowledge, I think that this earth is within the grip of my hand, and I have no idea how to honor sadhus and great persons. I cannot say by what good fortune I have awakened faith in your character and behavior. I wish to ask you a few questions. Please answer them, understanding that I have not come to you with any ulterior motive. Vijayanath then asked Babaji Mahashaya fervently, kindly instruct me what is the Jiva's ultimate goal of life, sadhya, and what is the means sadhana to attain that goal. While I was studying the Nyaya Shastra, I concluded that the Jiva is eternally separate from Ishvara and that the mercy of Ishvara is the only cause of Jiva's obtaining mukti. I have understood that the particular method by which the mercy of Ishvara may be obtained is called sadhana. The result that is achieved through sadhana is known as sadhya. I have probed the Nyaya Shastra many times with the inquiry as to what are sadhya and sadhan. However, the Nyaya Shastra remains completely silent on this topic. It has not supplied me with the answer. Please tell me your conclusions regarding sadhya and sadhan. Sri Raghunath Das Babaji was a disciple of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and he was not only an erudite scholar but also a self-realized saint. He had lived for a long time at Radhakund under the shelter of Sri Das Goswami's lotus feet. And every afternoon he had heard from him the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Dev. Raghunath Das Babaji would regularly discuss philosophical truths with Krishna's Kaviraj Mahashay, and whenever some doubts arose, they resolved it by inquiring from Sri Das Goswami. After both Raghunath Das Goswami and Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami left this world, Sri Raghunath Das Babaji came to Sri Mayapur and became the principal Pandit Babaji in Sri Gauda Mandal. He and Premdas Paramahamsa Babaji Mahashaya of Sri Godrum often discuss topics of Sri Hari absorbed in Prema. Nyaya Panchanan Mahashaya, Nyaya Panchanan Mahashaya, anyone who studies the Nyaya Shastra and then inquires about sadhya and sadhan is certainly blessed in this world because the chief aim of the Nyaya Shastra is to compile axiomatic truths through logical analysis. It is a waste of time to study the Nyaya Shastra just to learn how to engage in dry arguments and debate. If one does so, his study of logic has produced an illogical result. His labor is futile and he has spent his life in vain. Sadhya means the truth, tattva, that is attained by undertaking a specific practice. The practice is called sadhana and it is the means that one adopts to obtain that sadhya goal. Those who are bound by Maya view different objects as the ultimate goal of life, according to their individual tendencies and qualifications. In reality, however, there is only one supreme goal. There are three goals that one may try to attain, and different individuals will choose one or the other according to their tendency and adhikar, eligibility. These three goals are bhukti, material enjoyment, mukti, liberation, and bhakti, devotional service. Those who are ensnared in worldly activities and who are distracted by desires for material pleasure take bhukti as their goal. The Shastras are compared to a cow that fulfills all desires, kamadhenu. For a human being, for a human being can obtain whatever object he desires from them. The Shastras dealing with Karma Kanda have explained that material enjoyment is the sadhya goal for those who are eligible to engage in fruitive action. And these Shastras delineate all varieties of material pleasure that one could possibly strive to attain in this world. Having accepted material bodies in this world, the jivas are particularly fond of sensual enjoyment. The material world is an abode to facilitate enjoyment through the material senses. The pleasure one enjoys through the senses from birth until death is known as enjoyment pertaining to this life, ahik sukha. There are many different types of sensual pleasures that one may enjoy in the state one attains after death, and these are called amutrika sukha, enjoyment pertaining to the next life. For example, the pleasures of the celestial sphere include residing in Swarga, the higher planets, or Indra Loka, the planet of Indra, and witnessing the dancing of the celestial society girls known as Apsaras, drinking the nectar of immortality, smelling the fragrant flowers, and seeing the beauty of the Nandan Kanan garden, seeing the wonder of Indrapuri, hearing the melodious song of the Gandharvas, and associating with the celestial damsels known as Vidyadharis. Above Indraloka in succession are the planets of Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, and finally Brahmaloka, the highest planet in the material universe. The Shastras give fewer descriptions of Maharloka and Janaloka than of the celestial pleasures in the Indraloka, and fewer descriptions still of Tapoloka and Brahmaloka. In contrast, the sensual pleasure of this Earth planet Burloka is extremely gross. The rule is that the higher the planetary system, the more subtle are the senses and their objects. This is the only difference between these realms. Otherwise, the happiness available in all these planets is merely the pleasure of the senses, and there is no happiness other than this. Spiritual happiness, Chit Sukha, is absent on these planets. For the happiness found in these places is related to the subtle body, which consists of the mind, intelligence, and ego, and is merely a semblance of pure consciousness. The enjoyment, all these types of pleasure is called bhukti, and the sadhana for the jivas trapped in the cycle of karma consists of the activities they adopt to fulfill their aspirations for bhukti. It is said in the Yajurveda 2.5.5, Swargakamo Ashwamedham Yaje. Those who desire to attain the heavenly planets should perform the Ashwamedha Yajna. The Shastra describe many different types of sadhan to obtain bhukti, such as particular type of higher sacrifice called Agnishtoma, oblations offered to a certain class of devatas, digging wells, building temples, performing similar beneficial works for others, and ceremonies performed on the days of the new and full moon. Bhukti is the object of attainment. Bhukti is the um object of attainment. Mm, Bhukti is the object of attainment, sadhya for those who aspire for material enjoyment. Some of those who are oppressed by the miseries of material existence consider the 14 planetary systems, which are the abodes of all material enjoyment, worthless. These people therefore desire to become free from the cycle of karma. They consider that mukti is the only sadhya and that bhukti is simply bondage. Such people say those whose inclination for material enjoyment has not yet waned may realize their goal of bhukti by following karma kanda. However, Bhagavad Gita states, Kshine Punne Martya Lokam Vishanti. When their pious credits have been exhausted, they again enter the planets of mortality. This shloka establishes clearly and indisputably that bhukti is perishable and not eternal. Whatever is subject to decay is material and not spiritual. One should undertake sadhan only to obtain an eternal objective. Mukti is eternal, so it must certainly be the sadhya for the jivas. Mukti can be obtained by four types of sadhan. These are discriminating between eternal and temporary objects, renouncing enjoyment of the fruits of this world, and the next, developing six qualities such as control of the mind and senses, cultivating the desire for liberation. These four activities are the true sadhana. This is the viewpoint of those who regard mukti as the object of attainment, and the Shastras propounding Jnana Kanda present this analysis of sadhya and sadhana. The Shastras are Kamadhenu, and they arrange different situations for the jivas according to the adhikar, level of qualification. Mukti is generally understood to be the cessation of individual ego. However, if the jivas retain their individual existence and identities, then they attain it. Mukti cannot be the final attainment. This means that the jivas can only take mukti up to the limit of annihilation of the individual self, nirvana. But the jivas are eternal and so they cannot really be annihilated. This is confirmed in the Shveta Upanishad 6.13. Nityo Nityanam Chetana Chetananam Eko Bahunam Vidati Kaman. He is the supreme eternal being amongst all eternal living beings, and he is the supreme conscious entity amongst all conscious entities. These and other Vedic mantras establish that the Jiva is eternal and that the revelation of his individual existence, nirvana, is therefore impossible. Those who accept this conclusion understand that the Jiva continues to exist as an individual after he attains mukti. Consequently, they do not accept bhakti or mukti as the ultimate goal. Rather, they consider that bhakti and mukti are actually extraneous goals which are foreign to the nature of the jiva. Every endeavor has a goal and some mean to attain it. The result that one strives to attain is known as sadhya, and the practice one adopts to bring about that result is known as sadhana. If you reflect deeply, you will see that the goals of living entities and the means that they adopt to attain them are like successive links to a chain, links in a chain. What is a sadhya? Goal now becomes the sadhana, the means to obtain the next sadhya later on. If one adopts this chain of cause and effect, one eventually comes to the final link in the chain. The effect or sadhya that is attained at that final stage is the highest and ultimate sadhya, which does not become a sadhana means for anything else because there is no other sadhya beyond it. When one crosses all the links in this chain of sadhya and sadhana, one eventually reaches the final link, which is known as bhakti. Bhakti is therefore the highest sadhya because it is the jiva's eternal state of perfection, nitya siddha bhava. Every action in human life is a link in the chain of sadhana and sadhya, or cause and effect. The karma section of this chain of cause and effect consists of many links joined together. When one progresses beyond this, a further series of links form another section known as jnana. Finally, the bhakti section begins where the jnana section ends. The final sadhya in the chain of karma is bhakti. The final sadhya in the chain of jnana is mukti. And the final sadhya in the chain of bhakti is prema bhakti. If one reflects upon the nature of the jiva's perfected state, one must conclude that bhakti is both the sadhana and sadhana. Karma and jnana are not the final sadhya and sadhana, for they are only intermediate stages. Vajanat. There are many prominent statements in the Upanishads that do not establish that bhakti is the supreme or that it is the ultimate sadhya of attainment. It is said in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 4.5.15 and 2.4.24, Kena kam pashyeta, who should I see? Who should see? Whom should they see? And by what means? It is also stated in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 1.4.10, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma. It is stated in Aitara Upanishad 1.5.3, Prajnanam Brahma, consciousness is Brahma. And in Chandogya Upanishad 6.8.7, it is said, Tat Tvam Asi Shweta Ketu, or Shweta Ketu, you are that Brahma. Considering all these statements, that is what is wrong in regarding Mukti as the supreme sadhya. Babaji, I already explained that there are many different types of sadhya according to different tendencies. One cannot accept the validity of mukti as long as one has any desire for mukti. And many of the statements in Shastra written for people on that level. For instance, the Apastamba Shrauta Sutra states, Akshayam Havai Chaturumasya Yadina. Those who observe the vow of Chaturmasya obtain perpetual residence in heaven. Does this mean that mukti is a one-way goal? The karmis own desire only sense gratification. They cannot discover the recommendations from Shastra for mukti. But does that mean that mukti is not described anywhere in the Vedas? And a few of the rishis who recommend the path of karma maintain that renunciation is only prescribed for those who are incompetent and that those who are competent should perform karma. This is not actually true. These instructions are given for people on lower levels of spiritual advancement in order to promote their faith in their respective positions. It is inauspicious for jivas to neglect the duties for which they are responsible. If one carries out one's duties in full faith that they are appropriate for one's present level, one easily gains access to the next level of qualification. Consequently, prescriptions in the Vedas promoting this type of faith have not been condemned. On the contrary, if one condemns such prescriptions, one is liable to fall down. All jivas who have attained elevation in the world have done so by strictly adhering to the duties for which they were qualified. Jnana is actually superior to karma because it yields mukti. Nonetheless, the Shastras that discuss competence for karma praise karma most highly and do not substantiate the preeminence of jnana. Similarly, where the Shastras discuss competence for jnana, we find all the mantras that you have mentioned which praise mukti. However, just as eligibility for jnana is superior to that for karma, the eligibility for bhakti is superior to that for jnana. Mantras such as Tattvamasi and Aham Brahmasmi praise impersonal liberation, and they strengthen the faith of those who seek it to follow the path for which they are qualified. For this reason, it is not wrong to establish the eminence of jnana. However, jnana is not the ultimate sadhan and the sadhya of jnana. Namely, mukti is not the ultimate sadhya. The Vedic mantras establish the final conclusion that bhakti is the sadhan and prema bhakti is the sadhya. Bhajana, the mantras that I quoted are principal statements of the Vedas known as Mahavakyas. How can the sadhya and sadhan that they put forward possibly be externals? Babaji, the Vedic statements reported just a moment ago are not described as Mahavakyas anywhere in the Vedas, nor have they been described as superior to other statements. Teachers of Jnana have proclaimed that these statements are Mahavakyas in order to establish the preeminence of their own doctrine. But in reality, Pranava, Om is the only Mahavakya. All other Vedic statements relate only to particular aspects of Vedic knowledge. It would not be incorrect to refer to all the statements of the Vedas as Mahavakyas. However, it is dogmatic to single out one particular statement of the Vedas as the Mahavakya and to label all others as ordinary. Those who do so are committing an offense to the Vedas. The Vedas describe many extraneous goals and the means to attain them. So they sometimes praise karma kanda and sometimes mukti, but in the ultimate analysis, the Vedas conclude that bhakti alone is both sadhan and sadhya. The Vedas are like a cow, and Sri Nandananda is the milkman. In the Bhagavad Gita 6.46 and 47, he has revealed the purport of the Vedas regarding their ultimate aim. तपस्विभ्यो अधिको योगी ज्ञानेभ्योऽपि मदोऽधिका कर्मेभ्यश्चाधिको योगी तस्मात् योगी भवार्जुन योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना श्रद्धावान्यो भजते मां समयुक्ततमो मतम्. O Arjuna, yogi is greater than all types of ascetics, fruity workers, and those who cultivate impersonal knowledge aiming at liberation. Therefore, become a yogi, and I consider that the greatest of all yogis is one who is attached to me with firm faith and who constantly worships me with full expression of the heart. It is said in the Shweta Upanishad 6.23. Yasya deve parabhakti, yasya deve tatha guruhu, yasya deve parabhakti yatha deve tatha guruhu, tasyaite kaditahi artha prakashante mahatmana. All the confidential purports of the Vedas are fully revealed to that great soul who has the same parabhakti for his Gurudev as he has for Shri Bhagwan. It is said in Gopal Tapni Upanishad Purva Vibhag 2.2. Bhaktir asya bhajanam tad iha muktropadhi nairasye naivamushu manahakalpanam etar evana nishkarnam. Bhakti performed for the pleasure of Sri Krishna is known as bhajan. This means to give up all desires for enjoyment in this world and the next to dedicate one's mind unto Krishna and to develop a feeling of complete unity with him because of an overwhelming sense of prema. This bhajan also entails freedom from all result-oriented activity. It is said in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 1.4.8, Atmanam eva priyam upasitam. One should worship the Supreme Soul, Sri Krishna, as the dearest object of one's affection. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 4.5.6, it is also said, आत्मा वा अरे द्रष्टव्या श्रोतव्यो मंतव्यो निधिध्यासितव्य. O Maitreyi, one should see, hear about, think of, and meditate upon the Supreme Absolute Truth Paramatma. When one studies these Vedic statements carefully, it is clear that bhakti is the best form of sadhana. Bhajana. The Karma Kanda section of the Vedas gives instructions to perform bhakti to Ishvara, who bestows the result of all action. In the Jnana Kanda section, we also find instructions to satisfy Hari by performing bhakti through the medium of the four types of sadhana known as sadhan chatushtay. So how can bhakti be the sadhya if it is the means to obtain mukti and mukti? Since bhakti is the means, it ceases to exist when it produces bhukti and mukti. This is the general principle. Please educate me on this question. Babaji, it is true that performing the regulated practices sadhana of bhakti in karma kanda gives material enjoyment, and bhakti sadhana performed in jnana kanda gives mukti. One cannot achieve any result without satisfying Parmeshwara, and is only satisfied by bhakti. He is the reservoir of all potencies, and whatever potency is found within the jiva or within inert matter is only an infinitesimal display of his potency. Karma and jnana cannot satisfy Ishvara. Karma and jnana give a result only with the help of Bhagavad Bhakti. They are incapable of producing a result independently. Therefore, it is seen that there is an arrangement for some performance of a semblance of bhakti in karma and jnana. However, this is not Shuddha Bhakti. Rather, it is only Bhakti Abhas. Accordingly, the Bhakti seen in Karma and Jnana is a mere semblance of devotion, not Shuddha Bhakti. And it is this Bhakti Abhas that is instrumental in bringing forth the results of those pursuits. There are two types of Bhakti Abhas: Shuddha Bhakti Abhas, pure, and Vidya Bhakti Abhas, adulterated. I shall describe pure Bhakti Abhas later, but for the present, you should know that there are three types of adulterated bhakti abhas. These are bhakti abhas adulterated with fruitive action, bhakti abhas adulterated with monistic knowledge, and bhakti abhas adulterated with both fruitive action and monistic knowledge. While a person performing a yajna, he may say, "Oh Indra, oh Usha, the devata of the sun, please be merciful and give us the results of this yajna." All activities exhibiting a semblance of bhakti adulterated with this type of desire are known as a semblance of bhakti adulterated with fruitive actions. Some magnanimous souls have referred to this type of adulterated bhakti as devotion mixed with fruitive action, karma mishra bhakti. Others have described it as activities to which the symptoms of bhakti are indirectly attributed, arup siddha bhakti. Another person may say, "Oh Yadunandan, I have come to you out of fear of material existence. I chant your name, Hare Krishna, day and night. Please grant me liberation. O Supreme Lord, you are Brahma. I have fallen into the trap of Maya. Please deliver me from this entanglement and let me merge in oneness with you." These sentiments are a semblance of bhakti adulterated with monistic knowledge. Some magnanimous souls have described this as devotion mixed with monistic knowledge, jnana mishra bhakti, and others have as activities to which the symptoms of bhakti are indirectly attributed, arup siddha bhakti. These adulterated forms of devotion are different from shuddha bhakti. It is said in the Gita 6.47, Shraddhavan bhajate yomam. I consider that one who worships me with faith is the best of all yogis. The bhakti to which Sri Krishna is referring to in this statement is Shuddha Bhakti, and this is our sadhana. When it is perfected, it is prema. Karma and jnana are the means to obtain bhukti and mukti respectively. They are not the means by which the jiva can obtain his nitya siddha bhav or eternal constitutional position of divine love. When Brajanath had heard all these conclusive truths, he was unable to make further inquiries that day. Instead, he reflected within himself. The examination and discussion of all these subtle philosophical truths is superior to the dialectical analysis of the Nyaya Shastra. Babaji Mahasaya is vastly learned in these matters. I will gradually acquire knowledge by inquiring from him about these topics. It is quite late, so I should return home now. Thinking thus, he said, "Babaji Mahasaya, today by your mercy I have received essential your knowledge. I would like to come to you from time to time to receive this type of instruction. You are a deeply realized scholar and a great teacher. Please be merciful to me. Kindly permit me to ask you just one more question today, since it is already late and I will return home when I have heard your answer. Did Sri Sachidanand Gauranga write any book in which all of his instructions can be found? If he did, I am anxious to read it." Babaji Mahasaya replied, "Srimad Mahaprabhu did not write any book of his own, but his followers wrote many books on his order. Mahaprabhu personally gave the Jivas 8 instructions in the form of aphorisms named Shishantakam. These are like a necklace of jewels for the Bhaktas. In these 8 shlokas, he has imparted the instructions of the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Upanishads, and the Puranas in a concise, confidential manner, as if keeping a vast ocean in a single picture. Based on these confidential instructions, the Bhaktas have composed 10 fundamental principles known as Dashamula. These Dashamula succinctly describes both sadhya and sadhan with reference to the topics of samandha, abhideya, and prayojan. You should understand this first. Whatever you order, it is my duty to fulfill, said Prajanath. You are my Shiksha Guru. I will come tomorrow evening and take instruction from you on Dashamula. Bhajanat then offered Dandavat Pranam to Babaji Mahasaya, who embraced him with great affection. My son, I said, Babaji, you have purified the Brahman lineage. It will give me great pleasure if you come tomorrow evening. Thus ends the 12th chapter of Jaiva Dharma, entitled Nitya Dharma and Sadhan, end of the first division. So we have completed here successfully the first division. From next time, we'll begin the second division of Jaiva Dharma, the fundamentals of Sambandha, Abhidya, and Prayojan. So this particular chapter described in detail what is Arupa Siddha Bhakti, what is Karma Mishra Bhakti, what is Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Karma is aiming at Swarga Loka, and Jnana is aiming at liberation, impersonal liberation, and Bhakti is aiming at Prema Bhakti. So our ultimate goal is Samem Bhakti, Prema Bhakti, and Bhakti alone can bestow Prema Bhakti. I thank you so much for attending this class. Please join me on next Friday, coming Friday, for again we'll discuss Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thank you so much. Panchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhasya pradhanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधर्विका गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा व्यास जी की जय। जय तिला पृष्ठ जत गुरु शिष्य भक्तिदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। तिला पृष्ठ विष्णुपाद शिष्य भक्तिदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। तिला पृष्ठ विष्णुपाद शिष्य भक्तिदांत त्रिविक्रम गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। तिला पृष्ठ जगत गुरु श्री गौरगंध गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जय नितला पृष्ठ विष्णुपाद शिष्यमत भक्तिदान स्वामी महाराज की जय। आचार्य के श्री शिष्यमत भक्ति पर ज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। सपरिकर शिला भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गो गोवर्धन द्वार शिवनात्मक मंडल की जय। गंगा जमुना तुलसी भक्त देवी की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुशील चक्रजू की जय। सर्व विघ्न विनाशन भक्ति विघ्न विनाशन नृसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। भक्त पुरुष प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। चारों संप्रदाय की जय। चारों आचार्य की जय। चारों धामों की जय। आकर मठराज चैतन्य मठ की जय। केशव जी गौड़ी मठ की जय। रूपसनाथ गौड़ी मठ की जय। गिरधारी गौड़ी मठ की जय। रमण बिहारी गौड़ी मठ की जय। रंगनाथ गौड़ी मठ की जय। श्री दामोदर गौड़ी मठ की जय। बालाजी गौड़ी मठ की जय। अन्य शाखा मठ समूह की जय। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। त्रिदंडी स्वामी शिशु भक्तिदांत दंडी महाराज जी की जय। नामनिष्ठ संत श्री अनिरुद्धास प्रभु जी की जय। मठेर से वृंद की जय। धामवासी भक्त वृंद की जय। समागत भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री रघुनाथ दास गोस्वामी की जय। श्री रघुनाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री न्याय रत्न ब्रजनाथ प्रभु की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। श्री जैव धर्म ग्रंथ की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। थैंक यू सो मच। हरे कृष्ण। धन्यवाद। हरे कृष्ण।